Welcome to another video. We've got Sam here who's going to be sharing his story on how he has defeated his ulcerative colitis. And we're going to go through a series of videos, and this is going to be fun because we're going to go, in detail and, what he went through, how he managed, and obviously before he found us, what his life was like, and when he joined the program, and obviously what he went through and what his life is like now. So I'm pretty excited. So say hi to everyone, Sam, and maybe just introduce yourself, and then we'll get into the diagnosis.
All right. Okay, so my name is Sam Coley, and I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis in August of 2010. And the way I was diagnosed was basically like I had an allergic reaction to penicillin from my dentist. And basically, I took the penicillin for my toothache, and everything just went haywire. I had major diarrhea, and then went to my primary care physician, and he could not figure out what was wrong with me. So he told me to go to a GI doctor to see what's up. And, you know, and in the meantime, my diarrhea would not go. So once it started, it never went away. So we went to a GI, to a local GI first, and he basically asked me certain questions, like how many times you're going. I was going like 8 to 10 times, and it was nonstop every day. And basically he asked to do a colonoscopy because he was suspecting it might be ulcerative colitis. So we did a colonoscopy, and he could not even go through my colon completely because it was very inflamed. And basically he realized it was ulcerative colitis because it was in the rectum and ascending colon. And after he diagnosed me, he put me on Azocol. So Azocol, and it was one of those trial drugs back then in 2010. It was like a trial drug that time.
Wow.
And he used to give me these packets of Azocol, and we used to just basically tell me to take like 10 of those a day. It was something bizarre like that. And he was like, "Well, try these. Let's see what happens." Nothing worked. Like I'm having these 10 tablets a day, and nothing is changing.
Hmm.
And after that, he put me on prednisone, and to kind of like get the diarrhea get down so that the inflammation goes down. And he got me at a very high dosage. Like it was incredible. Like uh, I was on like 50, 60 milligrams a day, and he was trying to taper me off, and he played like this for 2 months, and then he realized, okay, this guy's disease is not going anywhere. So he was like, I can't help you, and I'll recommend this other GI doctor, and who is a specialist in my disease, in
Right,
digestive
right.
disease. So this is a doctor in UC Irvine Medical Center, and basically, she was a specialist in that. So she was like, okay, I need to do a colonoscopy just to make sure what your
Again.
current again. Yes, and this is now 2011. So this was August of 2011. So for a whole year, that other GI just played around with me and figured he can't help me.
Right.
And then he transferred me to this person, and she basically did a whole colonoscopy. And I remember during the colonoscopy, I felt so weak. I actually was like having a fever. Like my heart rate was 110. For some
Wow.
reason, I was dehydrated because of the prep. I
Hmm.
was completely dehydrated. And my doctor, I remember saying that I can't do the colonoscopy if your heart rate is 110. And I'm like, I'm pretty calm. I don't know why my heart rate is at 110. And then basically she put me in that ICU place, and, gave me the drip to calm my body down. And basically the whole day went, and my body calmed a little bit, and she was like, I will do the colonoscopy. And when she did it, it was completely inflamed. And she was like, yeah, you have a severe ulcerative colitis. And basically, I can't even let you leave the hospital until we do Remicade.
Oh
So that
wow,
was,
wow, okay.
she was like, no random drugs.
Yeah.
Let's go
Straight
Remicade.
through. And so you were obviously eating anything at this point. Actually, you told me before that you didn't eat any kind of fruits and vegetables. It was just like meat, 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 right? You were just a yeah.
This was sad. I mean, I like looking back, I don't know what I was thinking, but all I ate was meat. I mean,
Jeepers.
you put meat and veggies,
Yeah,
it's only going to be meat.
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
it was terrible. It was a typical like Punjabi diet, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
all we do is we eat meat, right? And or dairy or eggs or you know what I mean, stuff like that. Vegetables like I since I was a kid, I think it was bad habit I've had all my life where I would only eat meat. Like even like during a weekday, I mean, my at least one or two of my meals were meat based.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've had a severe history of eating meat, and I think that's what probably caused it.
And fruits as well, non-existent.
No, no, like I mean, it's like I remember my grandparents would force me to have it every
Yeah,
now and then,
yeah.
but
Same with
no.
me. Like I would eat like one banana in a week or something like that. That's probably the most tops, you know. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
So you had a lot of obviously trust in doctors, obviously, because they're the specialists. Like you go if you have a disease, you go to the doctor and he's gonna fix me, right?
I was blindsided, right? I mean,
Mm.
it was blindfolded, basically like, hey, you know what? Whatever the doctor says, you do. And plus, like, I was pre-med at school in
Right,
university.
right, right,
So, like, I had a lot of faith in medicine in general.
right.
Like, drugs can take care of everything,
Correct.
and there's modern, drugs out there who can take care of a lot of stuff. And I put a lot of faith in my doctors, and that kind of backfired,
And so
you know?
you found this new GI, and
Right.
she's telling you, right, you need to go on Remicade, and
Right. Let
you know your
the hospital.
colon, yeah, your colon is completely inflamed, and
Yeah.
it's even worse than in 2010.
Right.
So what was the kind of next plan of action or next steps that you took?
So we took the Remicade, and I kid you not, I was like renewed at that time. Okay. So Remicade like was like this wonder drug that time I remember. Like in 2011, I was like, wait, this is it. This is the
Mm,
answer I was waiting for, right? I can go back to eating whatever I want and not feel like crap, go like twice a day, and things are good, right? And I mean, I'm having formed stools that time. So I'm like, okay, things are great. And then from 2011 to 2000 and let me think about this one. So from 2011 to 2015, I was on Remicade. No problem. Life is good. Every 8 weeks, I was going for the drip. Right. I mean, it was kind of sad because you with a lot of these cancer patients,
yeah,
but it was still like working for me, so I didn't mind. Like I was like, hey, 2 hours of this 8 weeks, and life is good. Right. So everything was constant, and then what happened is I suddenly started having fever, like a
mm,
lot of fevers all the time. And at one point I actually started having neuropathy also, which is kind of like this thing where my foot would kind of like feel these chills,
mm,
like chills, and it would be uncontrollable. And I remember confronting my doctor about it, and my doctor said, oh, these are one of the side effects of Remicade. I was like, okay, so how do you get rid of this? They were like, it's neuropathy. You can't get rid of it. It's a nerve damage. I was like, what? So I was just like, wait. So they were like, well, every drug has its drawbacks, and neuropathy, there's no cure for it. And I was like, okay, well, let's switch the drugs because I don't want neuropathy. And basically, that's when in 2016, they switched me from Remicade to Entyvio.
right.
And they were like, Entyvio is a lot better drug. It doesn't have the side effects of Remicade, so you'll be fine. I was like, great. So I took Entyvio from 2016 to 2017 August. Okay. And basically, I was fine again, right? And by 2017, that drug also started to wear out.
Mm,
So in the meantime, like, I mean, in those 4 or 5 years, they kept increasing my dosage of Remicade. And I think that's how I got the neuropathy as well. And then when I switched the drug, Entyvio worked. And then after a while, it just stopped working. I was having like two bowel movements to like four or five again. And then I was just like, okay, these four and five bowel movements are still not working for me. And that's when in August, my doctor was like, well, so Entyvio is not working because I was having blood again in my stool. And I was like, okay, well, I'm bleeding and I'm having four or five bowel movements. What's going on? And she was like, okay, let me do a sigmoidoscopy, which is kind of just looking at your rectum
Mm.
because that's where a majority of my disease was and the ascending colon. And she looked at the sigmoidoscopy and she saw a lot of inflammation again. And so she was like, okay, well, we can't put you back to Remicade because Remicade gave you neuropathy. So from there, she was like, well, we'll look into Xeljanz.
Mm.
Okay. And she was like, maybe Humira. And then she was like, oh, well, Humira is the same kind of drug as Remicade. So we can't really do that because you had a reaction. So we were like, okay, well, let's give you Xeljanz. And then I went into my own research and I realized Xeljanz is even worse than Remicade. So I'm like, I'm getting into the cycle. And I went back to my doctor, I remember, and I was like, is there any other alternative? They were like, well, without after Xeljanz, maybe there are these drugs which are not like FDA approved yet. We could try that. And I was like, okay, what about after that? And they were like, we will have to talk about surgery. And
Mm.
that's when everything just, whoa, we're talking about surgery now
Right.
and removing my colon. That's not okay.
And that was the big wake up call for you.
Oh, hell yeah. Like, that's when I lost faith in medicine because I always thought, like, I will have more drugs, you know?
Mm, mm.
Like, I go from one drug, I'll go to another drug,
And
things
and
will.
and you're also a pretty smart person. It's not like you're doing this just because of the sake of it, or that's because of the doctor's saying. Like you understood what was going on, and
Oh,
you
yeah.
you wanted you wanted medicine to work, obviously. But
I mean,
yeah,
the pathways made sense. The biochemical pathways that they
mm,
were talking to me about, like, the TFT blocks and all
right,
that,
right,
like,
right,
I understood everything. What they were trying to do is there's inflammation in my colon. They want to cancel the inflammation.
right.
And these drugs will cancel inflammation, not just in your colon, everywhere else too.
They
And
suppress it, yeah.
yeah, so that's the whole goal. And that's what Entyvio did. And all the drugs that I have been taking, that was their ultimate goal. But
Yeah.
guess what? My body got immune to them.
Mm.
And that's why they started wearing off. So it made me realize I'm going from three, four different drugs. So it seems like my body will resist these over time. So this is all a temporary fix
Correct.
and leading me to surgery.
And that's
That's what
that's and that's what all medicine will do. It's always a temporary fix. And to be
that's what I
honest, yes, medication is not good for you, and obviously in an emergency situation it can be beneficial, we always say, but it's not for lifelong. And this is the difference, and this is why
yeah.
when I got diagnosed as well, the doctor was like, you're going to be on, lifelong medication. And I'm like, no, thank you. And so,
See, I had a different response. I was like, in the beginning, I was like, oh, it's lifelong crap. This sucks. My life sucks.
yeah,
And they're
right.
like, no, you can do whatever you want still. Like, you'll have no symptoms and blah, blah, blah. I
Yeah,
was like,
right.
okay, well, I guess it's not that
Yeah,
bad.
yeah, right.
Right?
Well, they kind of made
Yeah.
it look nice.
Right, 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 right,
Yeah,
right.
sugarcoated
And
it, sugarcoated it. Um,
totally.
yeah,
And let's talk about costs because,
yeah,
I mean, oh my God,
yeah,
these guys get away with a lot of money. Like
right, right.
literally, each Remicade every 8 weeks, it was costing my insurance $7,000, and if I was not insured, it would be roughly $10,000 to $12,000
Oh,
every
what?
8 weeks.
That's
I'm not kidding.
ridiculous.
It's insane how they get away
And
with
then and
this.
then to think some people think that what the service we provide is expensive.
Oh no, 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 dude. My insurance in my what 7 years of medication
Right.
must have spent around $400,000 or 500,000 on it.
Oh my God. That's
Yeah,
a
and I mean,
house. That's a
myself,
house.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I myself spent like a good, I would say, 25, $30,000 over the span of you know seven.
Holy moly. That's amazing.
I know,
Jeepers.
like
Um,
it's
and that's why it's a $1 trillion industry, right? And that's why
Oh yeah. I mean, it opened my eyes because I'm coming from that backdrop that
Right.
medicine is the solution to every problem, right? And that was an eye opener for me that like I spent so much, and it's a business for them too, because if I am taking the medications they're prescribing, they're also getting a cut from that. You
Mm,
know, so it's kind
mm.
of like it's a whole around thing, which I mean, I don't like going into it, but at the same time, I'm like, I spent so much energy, time, money, and at the end, they were talking about surgery.
And
You know,
nothing to do with diet, right? They didn't say they didn't mention that to you once.
never. They were actually saying, stay away from fiber and stay
Right.
away from like
How ironic is that?
it's your gut. Yeah, everything that irritates your gut, you should stay away from it. And they were like, yeah, you should have soft food, like white bread. Don't have
Mm,
wheat bread.
yeah.
And I remember like giving a whole lecture on that. They were like, you could have eggs, you could have meat, you can have all of those things, but just
And chili, maybe the chili you got in there as well. No chili. Did they say that?
yeah,
No
yeah,
spices or chili?
yeah. Maybe eat too many spices. Maybe
Yeah.
lowered that down a
Yeah.
little bit. I was like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
And yeah, but that never helped,
Yeah. It didn't
like
help. Didn't do anything.
clearly
Yeah.
every time I would eat whatever I wanted and I did it. I mean,
Mm.
my doctor said eat whatever I want and I ate, and just make sure you take the medication every 8 weeks, and I did that.
Mm.
And that's what
So
it
so so then you were kind of in a position where like, oh crap, so this has gotten to a point where I don't want to get surgery. I need to do something. What did you do next? What was the kind of what did you watch? I think you watched some documentaries on Netflix.